Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're really diving into something that's pretty universal, especially for our student listeners out there, social media and, well, you.
Yeah, we've got a whole bunch of research articles here, data studies, the whole shebang, and it gets pretty fascinating. We're talking Turkish Statistical Institute, some stuff out of Cyprus about daily usage.
Right. Like how much time are we really spending on these apps? And more importantly, how's it all impacting our well-being? That's what we're here to unpack.
And one of the first things that jumps out, at least to me, is how central social media has become in student life these days. It's not just a way to kill time between classes anymore.
It's everything.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Back in 2020, and that wasn't even that long ago, the Turkish Statistical Institute found over 80% of internet users were on social media,
Wow.
the third most popular online activity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only gone up since then.
Definitely. And it's not even just about being online, it's the sheer volume, right?
Yeah.
Like the Cyprus study we've got here, they found the average user is spending over 2 hours a day on these platforms.
2 hours. I mean, come on. That's 2 hours you could be studying or sleeping.
Or, actually talking to another human being in person.
It's true. And sometimes I find myself just scrolling, and then I'm like, wait, where did the last hour go? It's
Yeah.
crazy,
It's that automatic pilot mode, right? And that actually ties into this whole idea of social media addiction.
which some people might roll their eyes at, but
But these studies, they don't hold back. They go
yeah.
right to the six classic addiction symptoms: salience, mood modification, tolerance, withdrawal. And when you apply those to social media use, it makes you think.
Okay, so like, give me an example. What does mood modification look like when we're talking about like Instagram or TikTok?
So, say you're feeling down, stressed about an exam or whatever. You open up Instagram, start scrolling through your feed. Maybe there are cute puppies. Maybe it's your friends having fun without you, and boom, instant mood lift, even if it's temporary.
Okay, yeah, I've totally been there.
Hmm.
But it's not just the amount of time, it's also what we're seeing and how it makes us feel. One of the studies here found that social appearance anxiety, basically, feeling insecure about how you look online,
Yeah.
can actually predict whether someone's going to develop a social media addiction. The more pressure you feel to look a certain way online, the more you're going to crave that validation you might get on those platforms.
It's a recipe for a really unhealthy relationship, right?
Well,
Especially for university students. I mean, they're already figuring out their identity, dealing with all these social pressures.
And then you add in social media with these like perfectly curated feeds of everyone's best selves.
Exactly. It's no wonder those anxieties can get amplified.
And it's insidious, right? Because it's not always conscious. You're just scrolling, comparing your life to everyone else's highlight reel.
In that comparison game, the studies call it automatic thoughts. Those little judgments, those comparisons that just pop into your head without you even realizing it, that can really mess with your self-esteem.
Oh, totally. And that's when it can become a real problem.
And that's where the cognitive behavioral model of internet addiction comes into play. Essentially, it suggests that what we think, how we feel, and what we do online all feed into each other. So you see these idealized images, you get those negative thoughts. Ugh, wish I looked like that. Why aren't my vacations that glamorous? And then those negative thoughts drive you right back to social media to seek validation, which then just reinforces the whole cycle.
Oh, wow. So how do we break out of that cycle? I mean, we can't just swear off social media entirely, right?
That's the thing. We don't have to. And
Yeah.
honestly, that's not what these studies are suggesting either. It's more about finding a balance, being more conscious of how it's all affecting us.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I remember this one time I was I remember this one time I was scrolling through Instagram, right? And is all these vacation photos, everyone living their best lives. And I just spiraled. I was like, my life is so boring. Why am I not on a beach somewhere?
It's so easy to get sucked in, right? Especially with those curated feeds. It's like everyone's always winning except you. But the thing is, these studies also highlight how social media can impact our physical health, not just our mental and emotional well-being.
Oh, yeah, that's something I wanted to get into. We talk about the mental side a lot, but it makes sense that our bodies are feeling it too.
Think about it: if social media is cutting into your sleep, and that Cyprus study showed a link there, especially with excessive use.
Yeah, totally. Late night scrolling strikes again.
Right. Well, you're not getting that restorative sleep, and then we're talking headaches, fatigue, even a weakened immune system.
Yeah.
Your body's not happy.
It's a domino effect.
Yeah.
One thing leads to another. I've definitely pulled all-nighters scrolling, and then I'm like a zombie the next day.
Hmm.
No wonder I can't focus in class.
Exactly. And these studies actually connect those physical symptoms back to academics. I mean, sleep deprivation alone, that can lead to poor concentration, memory problems, all of which impact a student's ability to, succeed in their studies.
And it's not even just lack of sleep, it's the procrastination, the time management struggles. It's like this cascade of consequences that we don't always realize are connected back to our phones.
It's wild. And speaking of things that threw a wrench in everything,
Yeah.
can we talk about COVID for a sec? I mean, the pandemic really put social media use under a microscope.
It really did. Everything went virtual, overnight classes, hanging out, even like family gatherings were happening on Zoom.
And that had a huge impact. I mean, we were already seeing these negative effects, but the research suggests the pandemic really amplified things, especially on the mental health front.
Right. It was like there were no boundaries anymore between our online lives and our offline lives. It was exhausting.
This one study, Drazanovich et al., back in 23, they found a big jump in anxiety, stress, depression during that time. And a lot of it tied back to this feeling of being constantly on glued to our devices, like
Yeah,
we couldn't escape.
totally. But here's the thing, even though things have calmed down a bit, pandemic-wise, it feels like some of those habits stuck around,
Mm.
you know?
Oh, absolutely. And that's where things need to shift a bit from identifying the problem to actually doing something about it. How do we navigate this digital world in a way that's both, enjoyable and healthy? Because we can't just go back.
We can't put the genie back in the bottle. Social media is here to stay.
Exactly. And thankfully, these studies do offer some solutions, some ways we can regain control. One thing that comes up a lot is the importance of boundaries.
Oh, boundaries are huge. For everything, really. Not just social media, but it's so easy to get sucked into that endless scroll.
Right. But it's like, just like we make time for work, for school, for friends, we need to be intentional about our online time too. Some of the research suggests actually setting time limits, scheduling it into your day, like an appointment.
Ooh, I like that. Because otherwise it's 2:00 a.m. and I'm like, how did I get here?
Mhm.
But if it's in the calendar.
Accountability.
Mhm.
But then there's also being mindful about the content we're consuming.
Ah, yes. Curating the feed, so to speak.
Yes. Exactly. It's like, what are we feeding our minds? Are we following accounts that inspire us, make us laugh, teach us something new? Or is it all just negativity and drama and these unrealistic portrayals of perfection?
It's like choosing what to eat, right? You wouldn't eat junk food all day, every day and expect to feel good.
Precisely. And sometimes that means unfollowing or muting accounts, even if it's friends or people you admire. It's okay to prioritize your own well-being.
100%. Out with the bad vibes. But you know what else these studies talk about? Prioritizing real-life interactions.
So crucial, especially now when it's so easy to just exist in the digital space. There's just no substitute for face-to-face connection, for those shared laughs, that human connection.
Right. Like we crave that connection, but then we're all just on our phones, scrolling. It's like we have to be more intentional about actually putting ourselves out there.
It takes effort. Breaking out of that digital comfort zone, it's way easier to just stay in our little bubbles. But those studies are clear. We need that human interaction. It reduces stress, it boosts mood. Heck, it even helps us live longer.
No kidding. Okay, so we've talked about setting boundaries with our time, being picky about the content we're taking in, and remembering those real-life connections.
Mm-hmm.
All great takeaways. But what about the platforms themselves? Did these studies look at how social media itself could be, I don't know, redesigned to be less addictive, less harmful?
Oh, for sure. Several of the researchers brought that up. Actually, there was this one Turkish article that argued, if these platforms were actually designed with well-being in mind, they could actually help counteract some of those negative effects.
Interesting. So instead of just trying to keep us glued to the screen,
Right. They could be encouraging healthier habits, prompting us to like take a break or something.
oh, some apps do that now. They'll be like, you've been scrolling for an hour, go touch some grass.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, first of all, rude. But maybe if it was just built into the platform itself, it wouldn't feel so much like a judgment, more like a friendly reminder.
Exactly. Subtle changes, that nudge you in the right direction without being too in your face about it. The article also talked about adding features that actually promote real-world interaction.
Okay, now that would be game-changing because so often social media makes you feel more alone, you know?
Yes, it's ironic, right?
Totally. Like you're scrolling through all these perfect lives, but you're by yourself on the couch. So imagine if these platforms helped you connect with people in your area who share your interests, or made it easier to organize group activities, stuff like that.
That would be huge. Turning social media into a force for, well, actual socializing.
Right. It'd be amazing if it could actually help us live happier, healthier lives, not just...
Not just distract us from them.
Exactly. Well, on that note, I want to leave everyone with one final thought, a bit of a challenge, really. We've explored a lot of potential solutions here, but now I'm curious. If you could redesign social media, what would you do? What features would you prioritize? What kind of online experience would you create? It's something to think about because how we answer that question could really shape the future of, well, our digital lives.
And our well-being.
Big time. So, on that note, we'll leave you to your own deep dive. Thanks for joining us on this exploration of social media and its impact, especially for all you students out there. And remember, knowledge is power. Being aware of this stuff, that's the first step to making positive changes.
Here's to a healthier, more balanced relationship with the digital world.
Until next time, everyone.